Go!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to SIMseniors. Welcome back to Season 10 and to a pretty interesting point in the season at this point. My name's Ben Sapsford, be your guide for this evening, and we have a lot to look forward to. Let me tell you folks, we've got championship fights across the board. Gold, silver, bronze, they all have something to play for here, and we've all got something to look forward to. Of course, hello everyone in the chat, I can see you there jumping in. Hopefully we have a great race today. We're going to join qualifying in just a moment, but first let's talk the track itself. Kyalami, it's a track that is, to some, a little bit lukewarm. Now, I personally, massive fan. I really love this track. I think it's a track that you don't see as often as I think we should in a lot of racing media. I think that you've got a lot of character with this circuit, particularly when you're looking at that first sector. You've got that double sort of high-speed corner of Crowthorne. You make your entry, and then just as soon as you get up speed, you're into Barbecue once again, and then a long right-hander out of Sunset into Sector 2. There's a lot to look forward to here, and it's one of my personal favourites as we establish. There's the track right in front of you, and you can see quite twisty-turny. It's going to be a bit of a challenge for our racers to overcome. Now, in terms of championship, we have a 94-point score for David Lindblom, who is being closely tailed by Frederick Gaimar. 85 points to 94, and it's an NSX versus Mustang battle on the gold side. That's our main fight to look forward to, but 9 points behind that is Peter Wolfslener. Of course, drivers capitalizing out of last round. Into the silver class, and a little bit of a shake-up there, we have Radoslav Visharek beating out Paul Murray in the McLaren by a single point. So that is certainly a battle I'll be keeping my eyes on over the course of the rest of this race. And not to mention, on the bronze side of things, we do have a little bit of domination as Ibrahim Diekman in the Porsche is storming away with that bronze title so far. 22-point difference between that and Helge Olsen in the Carbon Lamborghini. There's a lot to play for here. There really is a lot to play for, and I, for one, am very excited to see what these racers show us today. Of course, we are at the halfway point of the calendar, so this is where things are going to start to heat up. We're going to see those mid-season battles really start to push, and we're going to see a lot of drivers now try and solidify their championship fights heading into the final 5 rounds. But let us know if this is a favourite track of yours, or if this is one that you prefer to miss. All opinions always welcome, of course. And with that, folks, we are going to be heading trackside. You know the drill by now. It is a 10-minute run for bronze and silver, and then after that we have got a gold run for 10 minutes of qualifying. So 20-minute session in total, and then we have the full core race. 60-minute mandatory stop required, although tyres are optional. Let's jump on with the racers, and right out of the gate it's a mad dash. Leading the charge, a familiar face, Craig Morrison. He's going to be jumping ahead of the field and beating out some of the usual suspects. We're taking him on board as he now makes his way down mineshaft and into the next final sector before he starts his lap proper. So 8 minute 30 on the clock. And that is going to mean we're going to be seeing laps around the 150s, I'd wager, at least to start with, but that's going to drop right down. There we go. Number 213. This is Craig Morrison, first car out on set. Let's jump on board with him, see what kind of speeds he's pushing. You can see pushing that gearbox, 6 speeds, a little bit of a short shift into 6th gear, keep the car stable. All the way down though to first as he heads his way through Crowthorne and out through that right hand chicane, and setting himself up quite nicely for barbecue. Uphill right angle corner, got to be careful with how you balance the car, make sure you don't get too much weight transfer, otherwise you will get the rear kicked out once the ground stabilizes. Through Sunset, long right here, got to keep the speed balance, don't stab the throttle, don't feel tempted by the track as you now make your way through Clubhouse Bend into the S's in Sector 2. Now, key point to make here, carry your speed. Trail on the brakes, use gravity to your advantage. You don't need to brake as much as you think through this section, but now into Lucop, cresting over the hill, heavy on the brakes into first gear once again for the McLaren. Keep the pace up, keep the momentum. Looking like a good Sector 2 for Morrison. Here's the initial benchmark. We will see a lot more times come through here in South Africa. Curiously, we do have a couple of cars joining in and out, particularly on the gold side, so hopefully they get that resolved. Look like there's any technicals for the moment. What we do see in the background, that was, I believe, I want to say Trickett there. No, it was Randy Zimmer, I believe. But first lap on the boards officially, Craig Morrison, 144.0, so massively jumping over that initial prediction, and a 42 coming in from Robert Homer, so plenty to play for here. Many drivers heading into the pits abandoning their initial runs. John Gabbett, number 21, making his way up to the line. What's it going to be? Remember, a 143 on average is what people are aiming for. He hits 143 on the dot, 0.027, no less. Great stuff here coming out from a lot of the field. Here's Quinn Kellenberg, driver that could have a chance to jump out from the bottom of the standings if he can get a good result here. We're already seeing quite a tight grid spread at the moment. Quinn Kellenberg comes through, 147. So maybe not quite the run he's looking for just yet, but it gets him on the board, and that stands for something. Right now, that's enough. That's all he needs. Just get yourself on the board, and then you can move forward from there. Is he coming up to the line? Here is going to be Kyalami. Any progress here? 44.3. Solid work there from the McLaren. And we are going to see Craig Morrison go for a second bite of the cherry. He's been demoted down to P7 since the initial runs took place. But he's going to be closely followed by Randy Zimmer, now recovering from his mishap out of the Cheetah Bend. That penultimate corner is such a nasty bite. You can see the amount of rubber buildup where so many cars, GT3 and the like, have all bumped that sausage curb and gone into the gravel. Ingwe, though, keeping it nice and smooth. This is technically his first lap, despite his second tour of the course. But he makes it through and makes it work with a 42.9, 41.4 just coming through from behind. That is Chris Wilson, though. What a performance. Beautifully dominating all three sectors. You can see right there on your screens. Only car so far in the 141s, and I'd be surprised if we even see some of the gold cars not surpass that. So, of course, we will see the golds push forward, but I think Wilson might have such a solid time there in the silver that he might even give some of the gold racers a run for the money. A few more cars making their way now. Johan Teteru. It's a very nice, almost official-looking livery, but too much as he tries to take avoiding action on Quinn Kellenberg. Teteru is going to only manage a 48.8 owing to that mishap. A couple more cars heading into the pits, but just behind. Here is Barry Finley. Needs to get a legal time on the boards in order to jump himself up. It's nice and hot here at Kyalami. 30 degrees track surface temp, so those tyres are going to have no problem getting nice and sticky. Ready to deliver the optimal grip, even if not for long. Now making their way through. A few more cars now got to show what they're made of. So Christian Sullivan, he's got a chance to jump up on the points here. Currently seeing 34 points equal with Frank Tennant. But just 2 more could get him ahead of Bob Jones in the bronze. And seeing our dominant racer of Diekman. Oh no, overcooking the car. Just taking a bit too hot there. And sadly, that is going to be lap over. I think that was just coming out of the Crocodile. But still, he's second in class, only behind Sullivan in terms of lap time. 0.3 of a second to be exact. More cars making their way. Here is Visharek, of course, the man to watch. We'll see how he stacks up against rival Paul Murray on this one. He goes into 10th. So he's a fair shot behind Murray. He's got almost an entire second to make between himself and the McLaren driver. But time is of the essence here. We are at the point where you need to be on a lap. Otherwise, you are not going to have enough time to get back out there. 1 minute 30 left to go on the circuit before the gold classes join the fray. And the silver, along with bronze, will be forced to go back into the pits. Their quali time is officially over. A couple of cars heading into the pits. Bowden, Tennant, Bull, all in the pit lane now. We will soon see some of the gold class racers also start to line up right at the entrance of the pit lane. You can see right there, there is Linatus, front of the queue, front and centre, practically chomping at the bit to get a chance. And be, in characteristic fashion, one of the first to jump out on quali. See how the rest of the field shapes up, though. Their last chances on the field. We have Chris Wilson potentially pushing that envelope even further as 2 other drivers, Homer and Mitchell, have joined him in the 141 club. Is Paul Murray going to be the next one? It's not quite going to be enough. It's 5 milliseconds short of his best time, but he still has one more chance. 30 seconds on the clock. He can technically continue if he so desires. Last chances for many. Visharek, lot rides on this one for him as well, as he needs to catch up to his primary championship rival. He is going to get a new fastest time. 0.715, that is going to be putting him in 8th position. Small leapfrog for a couple of cars, but no massive changes. However, it's time to go for the golds, and you can see the tidal wave of white numbered cars as they're all quickly trying to get as much track time and get the fastest attempts out there. More cars making their way through on the bronze and silver side, but they have to come into the pits after this point. No more new laps are to be started. And I think it's only fair we come full circle before we switch targets. Craig Morrison comes to the line. Is there an improvement from him? Remember, 42 is the target. Is there going to be enough? 42.990 barely gets in that threshold, and it's enough for P12 or P11 in class, I do believe. Last chances Rich Arscombe up to the line. Chris Wilson, no improvement, but Homer gets a .682. Arscombe's going to be the 4th car to get into the Warty ones with a .957 just there. Pretty impressive stuff. So it's the final runs for many. And now the shoe is on the other foot. Now it's time to see what the fastest drivers in SimSeniors have to show for themselves. We have our initial benchmarks of 41.4, courtesy of Chris Wilson. Congratulations, you got pole position for silver, unless Visharek has some magic up his sleeve, although he's only going to get a 292. It's not quite going to be there. So Diekman coming through, 43.2 is his best, and that's where it's going to stay. And right on time, here comes Thomas Linatus. First out for the Gold Crew. And it's time to see what he has under the hood. We know him to be an early bird on the quali jump. Now let's see if he gets the worm. Makes his way through into Crowthorne. Nice and smooth. If a little bit wide on the apex, just to curve around, keep some of the momentum. Sometimes it works to go a little bit wider, especially when you're talking about the double apex into barbecue. Let's get a bit of a Bahrain turn 8 and 9 situation. You take the first apex wide so that you can really cut in deep and push out onto the throttle as quickly as possible. You see Linatus going a little bit shaky on the exit, and that's going to be coming out Sunset and into Clubhouse Bend. Not afraid to push the boat so early on. He has still got more runs to go, but he wants to get a solid opener. He knows that track space is at a premium, particularly when you're dealing with so many other in-class runners. 44 cars are going to adorn this racetrack today, folks, so it's certainly going to be a densely packed field. Linatus, nicely done. Down mine shaft and into the crocodiles now. Keeping the speed nice and high. Fluttering through the gears all the way down to first. Just like we say, keep the momentum as much as you can. Careful of Cheetah Bend, though. Take as much as you need to on the outside. Just make sure you don't hit that internal sausage curb. You will have a lot of trouble keeping that car under control. Linatus comes to finish the lap. It is a 41.8. So, really solid initial showing here. Let's see what the rest of the field has in store. We're not going to see anyone jump up yet. Herme saying that. Scratch that. That's a 40.922 from Oskari Herme. What a showing from the NSX. But where is the other NSX that's joining us on track soon? Björklund, Holmberg, Wolfslener all coming in behind. Chris Bourne is going to jump through as well. Ben Neergaard is going to cross that line too. Many more cars still to come. Is Damien Reed making his way? He did say that the Lexus is quite slow, particularly at Kyalami, so this may not be his best day, but he's still out there, he's still fighting, and he's still going to give it his absolute all. Let's see what he has in store, though, and who has got a bit more in the tank. I think you're going to have pretty compliant suspension to deal with Kyalami. Not only the camber and some of the vertical changes, but even just by the fact that it does look a little bit bouncy at points. A little bit bouncy in places. You can see the rear axle of that Mustang bobbing up and down as it makes its way down out of mineshaft. Out through Crocodiles. Here's Guillemot, another solid contender when it comes to qualifying. Lindblom has pushed the envelope even further with a 40.537. That NSX driver really on top form, it looks like, today. But we have a couple of challengers, as always, set to knock on the doors of the crown. And Guillemot, 0.137, almost half an entire second clear of the NSX. This is going to get intense. I have zero doubt this is going to get just more and more to the wire the further this session progresses. Let's see. Justin Cutler making his way through. And it's going to be a 41.6. So most of the gold class cars teetering in the mid 41s into the lows. Ideally, you want to be in the 40s. That is your target. That will put you with a decent top 10 shot. For example, Dave Marsh is the 6th driver, 40.982. Everyone else is in that larger pocket. Coming through, Lindblom is going to go for another shot here. Question is, does he have enough to take the pole position back? Looks like he's on an improvement, if not by much. 0.425, so improvements on Sector 1 and 2, but not quite enough there yet. See Nearguard having a little bit of a wobble as he makes his way down through the S's and up into Lukop corner. Going to be encountering potentially a little bit of traffic, as there will be a BMW in front of him. Yeah, just the sounds of these cars. I believe that is Serrano, yes. So Serrano just up ahead here. 42.2 does need a bit of improvement here. It looks like he could have it, but just needs to link up this final sector. Arguably the hardest to nail down. Keeps it clean through Cheetah, down through Ingwe. Little bit wide there, but still deemed legal by the stewards. And that is going to be a 41.7, so healthy improvement jumps him back up to where he needs to be. So there's a couple of key contenders, of course, in this championship, not to mention we do have Lindblom, we have Gayamar, who's currently in the pole position spot. Wolfslenner, another contender, may not always have the quali on tap, but certainly knows how to handle a race. We've got Colin as well, Colin McNair, although he's not quite showing it in quali trim, formidable racer. Maybe the NSX is just a little bit faster around here than the Nismo, but car-to-car balance is always a contentious topic. It could be one way or it could be the other. It could be a melding of driving styles. You never truly know, do you? 0.225 coming in from David Lindblom. Still not enough to topple Gayamar's lead and hold on pole position. So there could be a real threat of the Mustang taking pole away from the current championship holder. And remember, Lindblom is in the position of defending this championship, so he's going to have to make it in the race. The game are not going to be locking in the run this lap, but next lap that he's just started now, this is going to be for all the marbles. Final laps now here as we get to the final 75 seconds of qualifying. Dave Marsh is going to be coming up to the line soon. Of course, now in the NSX. I don't think I'll ever get used to Marsh not being in that green Porsche. Sometimes I do miss it. Regardless, looks like he's found a fine form in lieu of the Stuttgart outfit, and he's going to be jumping into P8, still in the 40s, but 0.867. That's going to leapfrog him past Nearguard and Wolfslenner. Last chances. The two leaders have opted to go into the pits. Fastest time, 0.137. Will that stay? Eyes on Hermé, as this could be the make or break for him here. This could be his shot at stealing pole away from the leaders. He did have a solid shot at it earlier, and he's getting purples. He is getting very close to a purple sector, briefly flashing fastest through Lukop. So is he going to be able to hold it? Staying very far left, coming out of Mineshaft and into the Crocodiles. He's really trying to take every inch of speed and track that he can. A little bit of a skate on the rear axle. He's going to lose a bit of time there. Can he make it up? It's bumping across some of the grass there out of Cheetah. I don't know if he's going to be able to have it, but qualifying is over, folks. So last laps being completed. There's going to be Peyton coming across the line. There's Linatus. You've got now Hermé, who has at best got a 40.502, and he's not going to be taking this one here home today. Björklund is going to, in fact, take his place in the second row, the 0.492. And the last runners are now making their way through. See, Cutler is not going to be able to get an improvement himself either, as McNair makes his way around and is going to be the last card across the line. Let's see if he gets an improvement here. He is going to be getting a small improvement, but not enough for position. And that is session done, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go through your 3 podiums and, of course, pole per class. First off, starting with the gold, of course, Gayamar in a spinning turn of events is going to take pole position away from Lindblom, and while he did try his best to close that gap, gets it to under a 1/10 of a second, it's just not quite enough for the NSX, and he's going to remain in P2. Björklund is going to be in P3, and the third podium spot's coming out of qualifying before we move on to 16th. And then it's to Chris Wilson, who's got pole position for silver. As predicted, he's even outpaced some of the gold class cars, so a real testament to his quali run and how he was able to knock it out of the park early on. Brilliant stuff there from Wilson, and not too far behind, he's going to be followed by Robert Homer in second place. So definitely 2 contenders to watch out for. They're in the middle of the championship right now, but they could stand to gain today if they keep up this form. Finally, John Mitchell, 3rd position, 3rd in the championship. Let's see if he can get a bit of advantage on the likes of Murray, Visharek, etc. Potentially insert himself into that championship fight. Finally, looking at the rest of the field and looking to the bronze now, we have Christian Sullivan with a 42.832. He's going to be our pole position holder for bronze class. And then Ibrahim Diekman, current championship leader, in second, with Frank Tennant making an appearance. And is going to be in third. Though, does add fuel to the fire that Tennant, on his day, has pace to match with the rest of them. Just needs to bring that out and really sort of show that moxie that we know he has. But that is going to be qualifying over, and now the session is about to get underway. So let's take your proper grid walk. Let's take a real tour of the teams and see who is going to be adorning this racetrack today. They're lining up a little bit narrow to the boxes, I've noticed. So as established, Gayamar and Lindblom are your front runners in row 1, and then row 2 is going to be Björklund alongside. Despite best attempts only getting 4th, it's going to be Oskari Herme, also in the NSX. Holmberg and Larson, 2 Wolfpack Mustangs, are going to lock in row 3. It's number 231 and the 848. Neergaard and Chris Bourne are going to be in row 4. The Mercedes AMG alongside yet another Wolfpack entrant, this time the 118. Finally, rounding out your top 10 is Dave Marsh in NSX trim, looking very sweet and very speedy, alongside Wolf Slenner just 23 milliseconds behind. Row 6 is going to go to Colin McNair in the Iron Brew Nismo, alongside the Polish BMW of Adam Ostrishaz, just a second shy of the leaders. Crossing that threshold though, row 7, James Payton, the 248 Mercedes, with Thomas Linnatus. Early bird, but not quite on top of the standings in the Audi. Cutler's going to be P15, along with Chris Wilson in P16, of course, leader of the Silvers. And Patrick Larson is going to put a wedge between himself and Robert Homer, second in the Silver standings. Paul Hamby is also going to make his appearance here in the Mercedes AMG, funnily enough, and Pedro Serrano in a beautiful purple shade for the BMW. Mitchell's going to be 3rd in silver and is going to be alongside Rich Arscombe in the number 76 Vantage. Then making our way a bit further down, Damian Reed. Lexus not being his best ally today, but let's see if he can make it through this race. Paul Murray alongside, and then Randy Zimmer is going to round out to 25 cars, but we still have more to go. Would you believe it, folks? John Gabbett in 26th, Radislav Visharek in 27th, and then Craig Niesbet in 28th in the Mercedes AMG. Rounding us out to 30 is going to be Eero Basuri in the 992 Porsche, and Christian Sullivan also in the Porsche alongside. Craig Morrison's going to be in 31st, despite the first appearance in quali. Is going to be closely followed by Ibrahim Diekman and Frank Tennant. And that is going to be where we see the rest of the bronze cars now make an appearance, the likes of Barry Finley, Andy Trickett, the Porsche, Peter Smith in the McLaren, Roger Dismukes as well in the 420 Porsche, Richard Colomb in the 773 McLaren. Johan Tetteru in the 747 Ferrari. Anil Thurton in the 157 Porsche. David Smith in the 199 McLaren. Johnny Boyden in the 145 McLaren here. Rick Quinkellenberg in the number 23 Ferrari. And finally, Michael Bull using the quantum dimension in the 97 McLaren there. There we are. You can see everyone now aligning their way across the track. Got to say, if there's any car that has a bit of an advantage here, I would go out on a limb, and I would agree that the Mustang does seem to be another formidable choice. The NSX has been a really strong all-rounder all season. Don't forget the driver factor, of course. It is being piloted by a couple of the best drivers on the grid. But you can say the same for the Wolfpack cars, so really is a case of preference and power versus handling circuits. I think there's a lot of power opportunities here. There's a lot of opportunities for overtakes. I think particularly you're looking at turn 1. So that's going to be heading into Crowthorne just after the finish line. You're going to be looking at potentially into Lukop Corner, heading up the hill. Maybe even some drivers chancing it out of Mineshaft and into the Crocodiles, which we are currently at now with our leading bunch in formation. So, a few different opportunities for overtaking on this track. And in case you missed the start of the race, how this goes, we have an hour racing session. Oh, looks like someone's going for an early spin. I think that's Hamby there, going for an early pirouette, and certainly not going to be happy about flat spotting those tyres. But an hour's race, mandatory pit stop, which typically is taken around the 30-minute mark. Fuel is required, tyres are not. So it's a strategic choice whether you want to swap out the rubber on your car, or if you want to save those crucial seconds thinking that you'll make it up. So rounding out the final corner now, everyone's slowing right down to formation speeds, double file. We are halfway through the season, but the battles are only brewing stronger and stronger. Let's see what these races are made of as the green flag is about to fall. The track is hot here at Kyalami, and we are away, we are go, and it's going to be an immediate attack coming in from Lindblom, trying to get as far as he can to the outside ideal racing line. Guillemard goes to defend. Hermé trying to insert himself into the battle too, as Nearguard is deep, narrow to the inside. A little bit of bumper cars as we see the rest of the field, 2, 3 wide. There's Contact, there's Hamby, there's Marsh, there is McNair. They're all going for it, all going through it. Lenatus even getting involved in the action as it's a deluge of cars through the first sector. Mass pandemonium here, Contact all over the place, being flagged up left, right and centre, but the run in the front is already starting. You can see the front 6 starting to peel away from the field pretty rapidly. And nobody wants to leave anything to chance. You want to just get yourself out into own space, get your own territory. You can see a bit of gravel getting kicked up as there is fighting back and forth. I believe there's Murray, Hamby, all getting stuck in there. Reed, Arscombe, not to mention the likes of Mitchell as well. That could be getting marooned and getting a little bit stuck when they just want to try and move forward. In a car in the middle of Iceland. Well, could be in a car in the middle of South Africa, but who's judging? Home Paul as well, of course. Me being facetious aside. I'll say Ostrachaz is starting to form his own pocket a little way. You can see there is Linatus up ahead, almost by a second now. So gaps are already beginning to form. As soon as you get outside of a second, you are in the danger zone. Looks like we kept things on the fairly straight and narrow for the most part, although we do hear and see some reports. Contact is afoot, unfortunately, so I have to see exactly what's happening there. We might take a bit of a recap as the session goes further. In particular, I want to see what happened to the number 44 cars. It seems like they have been marooned way further back. You see a bit of tussling and fighting. McNair going for the challenge on Ostrachals, managing to get it out of the barbecue corner. Smoothly does it. And you can see up at the front as well, Marsh and Wilson are having a little bit of a tussle, a little bit of a back and forth. But Lindblom is just pulling steady pressure on Guillemard. And I think that's the best thing for him right now. Don't be rash, don't be overzealous. Just hold your line and keep the pressure high. Now, goading your opponent into an unforced error. See, already there is a major issue. Guillemard really not getting a good exit out of the Crocodiles, and the confidence has already taken a hit. Luckily, Lindblom didn't make that a literal one. You can see further down as well, Chris Wilson continuing his fine form out of qualifying and continuing to punch above his weight. Well and truly, he's given a run for his money for the likes of Cutler, and even Ostrachars is in his sights. Goes to show that even when you have got separate classes of racing, you're not going to be deterred. You're here to race, and if that means rustling a couple of feathers in other parts of the track, then you have yourself a good race. So far, looking alive. Lindblom continues to put his pressure on. Meanwhile, Neergaard, Marsh, Larson all running hot together. Just coming out of Sunset Corner. They're all just trying to gauge what each other's going to do. It's that elaborate mind game and seeing exactly who is going to make the jump, go for the move first. And Neergaard's in a very awkward position because he's got Larson to attack, but also Marsh to defend from. Cutler could be argued to have the same predicament, as Wilson is going to be a bit further up, and in fact they're going to be alongside each other heading into Lukop corner. He goes for it, he goes narrow, tries to get the exit out on Mineshaft, but the superior exit on the speed of the Aston is going to keep him at bay, at least for now. Cutler's not going to say anything to that though. He's going to go sharp into the inside line, out of Mineshaft, down the hill. He's really opened up the taps. Managing to get the run done out of Crocodiles. Just needs to hold on to it now as Wilson, we know he's a solid driver. He knows he can hold his own. And Wilson is really sort of laughing away here because he doesn't need to be fighting like this. He can, if he wants, just let Cutler through because there's no consequence to him here. See Neergaard going a little bit defensive, trying to gauge the best line out of this one to also make his way through and past Johan Larsson. McNair and Linatus do have a bit of a fight between themselves. Linatus is going to concede the corner. I imagine a small concession would be better for him in the long run, and you've got to play that long game. Looks like we do have a couple of connection hiccups, hence masses of lighting up. So we do see a bit of smoke getting kicked up, just trying to denote the exact cause. Quinn Kellenberg going hot into the side and off the side of Niesbet. Dropping right down and seemingly suffering in terms of performance. And we are going to wind back the clocks a little bit now, folks. We're going to jump on board the helicopter. This is from the start, and you can looks like that's Frank Zimmer and a mass pile up in the back end of the circuit. It looks like that was Christian Sullivan who was going sideways, just going through there. And you can see even more cars getting involved as there's a second half. There's a second part of the story to the collision. Frank Tennant was really hung out to dry there. And we are, in fact, going to revisit that from the helicopter and just see if there was any longer lasting effect. So, spins out. See, I believe that is Smith alongside him there. That is indeed. Both of them just trying to recover back onto the track cleanly. And in the end, they are going to call the grass and gravel home. I will stay. And I will say that is still impressive that that is the only incident up to that point. Only one of this magnitude anyhow. Although Nisbet, I think, lost the car. You can see the dirt and gravel trails. He has lost the car completely. In fact, his hood is fully exposed. Luckily, right in front of the pit lane. I will say that is a saving grace of the cheetah corner. You are right in front of the pit lane to make a speedy recovery into the pit. You see what exactly happened with Barry Finlay. So this is, again, winding back the clocks a little bit. We're just making our way out of the Jigsaw Sweep and into Barbecue. You see a little bit of lift off oversteer or just taking too much. And just like that, slamming into the inside wall, having to be stationary for the rest of the cars to pass. We'll see Vishrek also going for a bit of a challenge. There's going to be a high amount of pressure coming through. And Hamby is going to make an interesting call. Going to the pits. Trickett and Nisbet doing the same along with Holmberg. I wonder what the motivation is behind that one. What exactly has happened? I know Hamby had a bit of an upset earlier on. I do wonder if we turn things back a bit. Was he involved in the earlier incident? You can see there's the number 231. Wonder if he was involved in some of the earlier incidents. So yeah, Holmberg, of course, being one of the casualties. Oh, you can see, like, we look back, and that was just a moment of him fighting wheel to wheel. No major issue, no major casualty. So the reasoning for his pit stop is, as of yet, unknown. Checking back in with the leaders, meanwhile, and on the gold side of things, there is Lindblom still putting down some serious pressure on Guillemard. I think Guillemard's now since found his composure, and he's got used to a bit of a rhythm between these two. Lindblom is, on average, lapping about 2/10 slower. But that may be in part just due to him being in the wake of Guillemard, as he's just flipped the script on that. He has gone faster now, particularly in Sector 3. You can see that is his sector best of the session. Even tries to go a little bit narrow into Crowthorne. Be trying to put the pressure down and start cooking him a little bit. We'll see more and more drivers start to make their way through soon. You can see Serrano getting a bit of a jump on Robert Homer here. Just trying to get back with the rest of his field. Not going to stop Homer from giving a little bit of a challenge, keeping things interesting for him. My, oh my, there is one driver who's standing head and shoulders above his compatriots right now. Diekman, 4 cars between himself and the next closest in Diesmakes. What a showing from him so far. I think if nothing else, he's just kept his head down, kept a clean race, and that is paying dividends. They're really impressive from Diekman there. Certainly in terms of championship points-wise. This could be a turning point. Vishrek right down at the bottom. Was not the strongest in qualifying. Determined to make a run to the point where he is going to go toe-to-toe with Morrison. In fact, could get a little bit argy-bargy. Out of Le Cop. And down into Mineshaft. He's going to hold a defensive to confirm his overtake. Although Morrison's not going to be too happy for that. He is going to go for an almighty send. Goes a little bit deep there, but carries the speed on the outside. I think Vishrek might have to yield. You can't go side by side through Cheetah. He knows better, and he does do better. He backs out of this one. seeing the writing on the wall. He doesn't want his paint on that. Ishrek is under a serious amount of pressure right now because way further up the road you have Paul Murray right now, who is currently sitting nice and happy, third in class, soon to be second if he can close that gap to Homer. A lot rides on this because heading into the second half of the championship, the pressure is ticked up just that little bit more. There's a little extra wick of pressure. It's a tiny bit more. And oh no, this is Zimmer making contact. Contact with Diekman. You see, certainly not a happy bunny about that, but he has got a saving grace by the fact that there's 2 more cars between himself and Sullivan. Of course, never an ideal situation, but you can work around it, given his circumstance. Something's happened with Chris Bourne here. Looks like he's lost a heck of a lot of time. I think he just went off the side of the track and he's conceding not only to McNair but Lynn Nartis just after. Big concession for position there. And Nergard still putting pressure down on Larson to try and get one away from him. Goes alongside, trying to get a bit more speed around the outside of Sunset. Risky move to take, especially at these speeds. You can't really press an advantage without the apex, or without staying enough alongside where you can hold into Clubhouse Bend. Not successful on this one. But he's not done yet. Pokes the nose in, getting real close. Getting real close for a challenge here. This is Nergard showing what he's capable of. You see, defensive stance coming in from Larson. He knows what he's going to try and pull. Blocking the apex near perfectly, coming out of Lukop into the mine shaft. Straight now, heading down the hill. Gravity assisting, but not your saviour. Crocodiles now, and again, a little bit of defensive stance coming in from Larson. He really is content, or intent, on holding that P5. Sweep left, right, trying to switch back each other at every turn. Good run here from Nergard. He's going to try and get that pressure down hot. On the left side here, he's going to see what he can get on Larson, but Larson taking a little bit more speed. Tries to get the nose in. Space is left. This could be the opportunity that Nergard's waits for, but much better exit. Larson really knows how to hold a line, knows how to defend, but could be a much better run here coming out for Nergard once more. This fight has gone back and forth for a several corner run. See what these racers have more to show. This is just one battle. Nergard's finally got this one, coming out of the Clubhouse Bend through the S's. Smooth operator, very much so. Nergard now up into the top 5. Marsh and Wolfslen are about to kick off with a fight of their own. Here's Wolfslen going down the inside, coming out of Lukop once more. Just transition nice and clean. Both of them going side by side. Marsh is going to tail off and yield. Despite holding that inside line, it's not going to be optimal for him to fight this one. So, taking a bit more of a conservative approach to this first half of the race at the very least. Would certainly be keeping an eye on your opponents. as this could get dicey. Marsh, curiously, has gone into the pits, so taking a bit of a different swing with this one. No more for him. He's going to be trying to undercut the field big time. Smith is going to, meanwhile, go for a bit of an attack on Thurton, but going for the switchback. I think that was a little bit too dicey. We're going to try to go with the outside here at Kyalami on that final corner. This is not ideal. It's weaving back and forth, just trying to gauge and assess a potential attack angle. Is going to sweep once again to the inside on the left. Take claim of the apex. Just needs a good exit there. Really good attack. Burton is kind of caught unawares as he takes a very wide line through the apex. And David Smith, really impressive, as he's going to be now getting his hands on P30, also known as P4 in class. Let's see Lindblom and what he has to offer now. We are several minutes into this single fight alone. And right away, KMR is going to be a little bit more drastic, a little bit more darty. With his defensive moves, I think starting to feel the pressure a little bit more as time goes on. I think the pressure is being felt. Now we are down to 43 drivers, sadly. That is because we did lose Trickett in the race earlier. So he's not going to be sticking it out all the way to the end, and we are down to 43 cars. It's still quite a high grid count, considering the scale of the track, and Wolfsland is going to take full advantage of its tighter nature with a beautiful move through the S's. Johan Larsson kind of getting caught unawares, I think, by that one. He wasn't really expecting a kind of challenge of this nature. Wrap the way round the corners. McNair could be on for a chance to go on the attack as long as Linatus doesn't give him too much trouble. Big old sweeper could do him wonders. And then even looking out to first corner, Lindblom is not really going for the attack so much as he is just staying in the wake of the Mustang up ahead. Nah, looks like he's going to go aggressive, albeit not going for the move. I think it's just a mind game. Just get out of that slipstream and show him that you are, in fact, right there. Not to mention, coming out of the slipstream, your aero's working again, working harder, more grip, more braking force, slightly shorter braking distance. All these different considerations in real time with the sim racers we have on our screens. Lenatus getting involved with this fight too before long. Lenatus could approach this in a couple of ways. Let them fight or get stuck in himself. Don't want to risk the two of them running away, so has to keep on good form and still keep the pressure high. Arguably even harder so. Randy Zimmer making his way into the pits. Kellenberg having a bit of an issue. Oh no, Quinn Kellenberg, he's off the side of the track out of the Crocodiles. He's able to get it moving again, but he's not looking like he's in any good condition. Quinn Kellenberg has had a race to forget, safe to say. And I believe this is going to be once again a bottom finish for him. Not to be outdone, I think Niesbet has had a really rough time as well here tonight. currently sat multiple laps behind and just trying to recover. Getting hit by major damage. His pit stop was over 3 minutes, which is about a lap and a half. Dave Marsh is spun round on the course. In fact, you know what? Let's go to the helicopter and let's see exactly what happened. So, he's chasing what looks like Tennant. I believe that's Tennant and Bowden right there. So, goes on the outside. I think just makes an unforced error, just going too far out, and yeah, sadly spins himself out. I believe that's on the S's there. Recovers himself to P39, but doubtful that he's happy right now. Must be beside himself, given what we know he is capable of. Oh, slow exit from Gabbert is going to hand a stance, hand an opportunity for Visharek, and going to make quick work of it. Out of barbecue into Sunset. The Ferrari is going to take position away. He's going to be slicing his way up a couple of pegs on the order. But then at the front, in fact, let's rewind things a little bit here. We do finally see the fight between the two leaders come to a head after a mistake coming out of the Crocodiles. This is going to be Lindblom taking the lead of the race out of Cheetah Corner. This is what we were saying. Build up the pressure, unforced errors, and now the position is going to be relinquished to the NSX. Such a good job defending from Gayamar, but in the end, it was the patience and the just slowly chipping away at his resilience that factored in the end. Gayamar now is on the back foot. Lindblom has the position of power here compared to where he was previously, and so this is going to change the entire approach to the rest of this race. Peyton's going to be dropping down following a mistake, along with Bourne going down to Lenatus, as we are getting close to the pit crossover. Remember, about 30 minutes in is when most drivers aim to take their stops. We do see Johan Larsson coming out of the pits, and Chris Wilson also going to be following suit. A few more cars most likely to be peeling in this lap. So the only question mark is who? Who will it be? In fact, it's going to be Lindblom. As soon as he gets the race lead, he jumps into the pits. Interesting choice. I would have gone a couple of laps more, really emphasized the advantage, held Gayamar back. But you can't really read your opponents in the same way. So, Lindblom in the pits. Gayamar is going to regain the lead, but at what cost? He could, by all means, be undercut here. He doesn't even know it yet. Lindblom and Bourne. We had, not long after, couple more cars soon to jump. Yeah, everyone wants to aim ideally for that 30-minute point. It's the real sweet spot. You're maximizing your tire life, you're maximizing your fuel loads in terms of minimizing weight, and you are keeping a consistent routine, if nothing else. 2 30-minute stints, it's mentally a bit more manageable. Dirton having a bit of trouble coming out of Mineshaft there. Wonder what's going on with him. Regaining his composure at least a little bit. And Craig Morrison heading into the pits. Lindblom has just made his way out and is now coming out to turn 3. Seeking glory once more. Keen to defend his title with a 9-point advantage. Lindblom is going to be one to watch. Gayamar and Hermé both heading into the pits, handing over the torch to Björklund now, crossing a line for the 16th time. Let's see how well he handles the lead. Best lap, 40.7. Not quite sure where he's going to land in terms of lap to lap. Last one was a 41.4, so he's starting to feel the effects of some of that tyre degradation. Paul Murray is going to join the other two in the pits as well. So that is going to be having us closing in on about half the field who has taken their time in the pit. So Diekman continues to lead the bronze despite having a couple of upsets earlier in the session. Just holding that far and away. Taking that position too hard. See if he's able to even push on to some of the other drivers around him. Now, he's got a very interesting opportunity because Hermé is right there, and Hermé could actually be a driver to help him pull forward. Diekman is on average about 2 seconds a lap slower. So even just trailing Hermé coming off of a pit stop could be very beneficial. Learning his pace, learning where he's gaining, losing time. It's almost like having a ghost that you chase and push forward with. Be able to rein them in. The Austrichars and Cutler having a bit of a joust back and forth, but Austrichar's going to undercut the fight completely by heading into the pits as well. Björklund is in simultaneously. Smith getting under attack from Chris Bourne. Narrow shot of opportunity. Exactly at the halfway mark, you can see Austrichars, Sullivan, Vischerek in the pit now. We'll have Wolfslener in second place, Neergaard taking the provisional lead of the race as many others are now taking a shuffle up and down the order. We'll have plenty of undercuts potentially being put into work. Curiously, we have Guillemard and Lindblom now swapped back over, and this is quite the development. We now have got Iro, and oh no, contact made! Contact made between Lindblom and Vissuri as they come together. In fact, we need to replay that from the helicopter. So you can see Guillemard's actually able to gap him on the pit, so Lindblom is effectively returned to P2. Now, Guillemard manages to get round Vissuri, and Lindblom tries the same. Door starts to close a little bit, and before you know it, quarter to quarter, Lindblom is down. So he's not only dropped to the likes of Guillemard, but Hermé, Björklund, potentially others who have yet to pit, they're all going to be in the fray. Wolfslener and many others heading into the pits is going to be a massive spanner in the works. We do see a couple of cars now coming out too. Christian Sullivan making his way out of the pits. Johan Teteru is going to be doing the same. Bull and Colom are heading into the pits as well. Only a few cars remain who have yet to swap out either their tyres or their tank of fuel. Lenatus is going to get a bit of time in the sun before he eventually has to come in himself. Nobody is yet locked in terms of position. That goes to show right there what happened to Lindblom, that anything really can happen. It truly can be a case of anything goes. We did also lose Holmberg in some of these altercations on the track, sadly, so we are down to now 42. but there's still plenty of racing to be had. See Bowden going off the side of the track and making a hasty rejoin. There's a Finley, Smith and others all heading into the pits. Kyalami in there for an extended period of time, so that's setting off alarm bells. A little bit of concern there. Oh, we see Quinn Kellenberg, who just off the side, completely losing that car. And well into the grass. Bowden taking it slow. Just not wanting any trouble. Quinn Kellenberg now down right at the bottom. Only trailed by Niesbet. Remember, had a 180-second pit stop. Visuri into the pits. And realistically, last chances for many to head into the pits before it becomes an unviable strategy. You don't get any more. That big variance in strategy is very much optimized for the halfway mark. Very much so optimized to be right on that. See, Dismuker's taken a couple of position hits, but he is an outlier considering he hasn't pitted in. He is going to be massively dropped down the order, but looks like we have major chaos as Reed is off the side of the track. We have Marsh going straight off into the back. What has happened here? Okay, let's rewind this for a second. So we're going to first off look at an incident that was flagged for Damien Reed. It's going to be on Zimmer right now. So going through turn 1. And in through, that is the Jigsaw sweep. Going into barbecue, the two make contact, the two spin. Dave Marsh gets heavily involved in that. He gets caught in the crossfire. And that is what sets them all off. All three in the pit lane. Major altercation between multiple cars. They're going to all return to pit lane now. See, Nearguard. Nearguard's had an interesting one. So he's gone exactly equal. So he's not gained nor lost a position, and I think that's a successful race in its own right. He's kept things smooth and he's not had any major incidents. For the sake of the race right now, I think Nearguard is in the best position to just hold ground. Don't do anything crazy. You can see, yes, Teteru going out the side of Cheetah. Not wanting to get in the way of the faster cars, of course, observing the blue flags. So Peyton heading into the pits, marking one of the last. I believe it's only John Gabbert left over, as even Dismukes has headed into the pits by this point and rejoined the others in the group. Reed and Marsh are in the pits for an extended period of time, raising questions about what exactly is happening. with them right now. We do lose Quinn Kellenberg as well. Of course, he's had multiple issues this race, so in a way, I'm not surprised. I do think that it stands to reason he would retire at this stage, and I respect him for running the race as much as he has up until this point. You see Kyalami running very slow, raising a bit of safety concern there as he comes out of turn 3. And then as we head to the final third of the race, most, if not all, drivers having taken their pit stops, meaning that we are going to be having some proper organic fighting on the circuit now. So 4-1 now, and you can see multiple cars lingering and mingling together. Lenatus coming out of the pits now. He's going to be rejoining right up ahead of John Gabbert in P10. Gabbert's taken quite the swing alongside John Mitchell by still not pitting yet, and that was a curiosity that we missed earlier. Mitchell has not pitted either. Gayamar is well ahead of Björklund right now. You look at Gayamar now going through Lukot just as Björklund is going through the S's. That really is a substantial margin, over 10 seconds nearly. And then you have Lindblom, who, granted, has made quite the recovery following the incident with Vasuri, but he's still got a long way to go. Something has happened with Johan Larsson going on here with the red Mustang. We do lose Damien Reed, unfortunately, so coming off of this collision with Marsh and Zimmer, that's honestly not surprising. Did say himself that the Lexus was not the strongest suit around here. Fully appreciate that's his ticket to bowing out. Larsson just taking a standard overestimation of speed, and he's going to be jumping into the pits now for the second time. Bit of an interesting development, I do say. Cutler going for the run on John Gabbert right now, as Gabbert is going to go very wide and also concede a position to Chris Bourne. Now in P12, but still ahead. Wild thing is that Wilson is behind, and Wilson has taken a pit stop. Having a bit of a wobbly one as we have multiple cars just trying to fight for the same space of track. John Gabber finally biting the bullet along with Mitchell, and both heading into the pits here. So Mitchell just making his way out now. Where is he going to land? Of course, he's going to be behind Wilson, but is he going to be able to jump Homer? Homer's coming across the line now. Looks like he's just going to be able to come out ahead of the pit lane. And the turn of the tables has been shown. Paul Murray, he's going to be very much ahead of Visharek. He could stand to take the lead of the championship by the end of tonight. See how the rest of the field shapes this one out, as a couple of nerves have started to be touched. Alright, take for example Patrick Larson. Right now he's sandwiched between Ostrowski and Wilson here. Now Wilson's in a separate class, so not necessarily a threat, but what stands further behind is Pedro Serrano. You want to have that car's buffer. Do also have, I believe that is Sullivan, who is right in the thick of that one there. But all eyes on Ostrowski, I think, at the moment, as he's truly got a lot of pressure mounting. He needs to get ahead of Peyton, lest he continue to face the pressure of Patrick. Have a bit of an undercut coming through as some of the other cars are trying to make their way around. I believe that's Hamby right there, just smoothly riding his way around the course. As you can see Michael Bull being trailed. Remember, blue flags are in force, certainly between classes as well as, of course, lower laps as standard. Even so, Patrick Larson's Ostrowski is very much in his sights. He's very much under target and fire. We are in the final 15 minutes now, and this is the interesting period of the race where now we have multiple cars just settling into their positions. I mean, look at Guillemot, nearly 12 seconds clear of Oscari, and short of a major incident, he's going to be nigh untouchable. Though, stranger things have happened. I mean, look at Lindblom, albeit up to P4 now. He's still massively behind, and he was going to be, by all accounts, the car to beat. A big surge in confidence coming from the likes of the Mustangs. Wolfpack team certainly knows how to throw in a bit of excitement to a race. Hamby having a wobble in his Mercedes. Now, Hamby's an interesting case as well, because I could argue he's one of the drivers who's jumped around different cars the most. Yeah, he's switched between, I believe, I'm just trying to recount, I'm trying to recall, the Lamborghini. The Lamborghini was one that he ran for a while. Then he switched, I believe, to a McLaren for a little bit. And then now we are standing here with, after going, I think, to the Lamborghini again, the Mercedes AMG. Most drivers tend to stick to a set car or a set formula, or in the case of Wolfpack, the Mustang. But yeah, he's been one of those drivers that's not afraid to experiment, where many have stuck with a single choice and just sort of iterated on their setups and iterated on their confidence. Some drivers prefer revolution instead of a slower evolution. In Larson, Ostrishals, both of them, I think, as long as I've seen them, have been running the Mustang. I remember when Johan Larson was running the McLaren, and he was a very strong competitor in that. But joining the Wolfpack outfit and synchronicity of the team, if nothing else, switching to the Mustang, it's certainly a solid pick. Likewise, we've seen Wilson with the Vantage for so long. We've seen Marsh for so long with the Porsche that it feels weird to see him now in an NSX. You get used to certain cars being used by certain drivers. It's just the way of the order. See, Dave Marsh is unlikely to return to the racing circuit. We have got confirmation he's been in the pits for over 10 minutes now, so it's extremely unlikely that we will see him back on, meaning we have functionally 39 cars remaining in this race. Peter Smith has gone round, unfortunately. That's going to be at the final corner. Very bizarre place to lose the car. In fact, we're going to rewind the clocks a little bit and jump aboard with the helicopter. See exactly what happened. So, loses it briefly behind Teteru. And you can see he's just trying to get some pressure down and, a bit too much on the accelerator and just losing it on the rear. Bit too much. That's all it takes. Slight amount of oversteer. And you are done for. Here's Arscombe going for an attack on Paul Murray. Remember, Murray has got P4 right now, and if he holds this position, he will overtake Visharek in the championship. So, all is riding on these next 5 laps or so. There's a big chance, a big opportunity for him to score some major points on his rival and really set the stage heading into the second half. Especially when you consider that John Mitchell is further up ahead too, and he could even get himself involved as well. It's a 4-point deficit, bit more to overcome. But you have still got plenty of chances. Throughout the rest of the season to score points too. So nobody is fully out of the count. And what's crazy is if you look at some of these performances side by side, I mean, looking at the individual driver standings, independent of class, Diekman has the second best performance record out of the entire grid. 92 points compared to Lindblom's 94 in first. The second best individual performance in a bronze car, that's massive. That's massive. And a brilliant result so far for his season. So just staying on board with Peyton for a bit. So Peyton's one we don't always get a chance to really observe, but he runs his own race. And there are many drivers on this circuit that are like that. Doesn't always like to make themselves the center of attention, but just likes to run a smooth, clean race, keep things simple, and just run it forward. That's all they want to do. Wilson is coming up on the back of Ostrishars, and despite still that class divide, he's not going to let that stop him from having a good time. We have 5 minutes left on the clock, ladies and gentlemen, and we've just been sitting here seeing what Wilson does, how much he wants to fight for this, how much he's going to really go for it versus just holding his ground. Remember, Mitchell is over 10 seconds away, so he has a bit of free rein to fight, but does he need to? No, absolutely not. More about the thrill, more about the excitement of the moment. Do have a bit of a wobble coming in from David Smith, and he's under a bit of pressure to keep it together, as he's got John Gabbett as well, losing some significant time. Getting blue flagged left and right as John Mitchell's going to overtake on Robert Homer and get himself into second place. Or at least have a bit of a joust back and forth with him. See, Homer is really feeling the pressure to try and get some aggression on Mitchell. It's going to be a smooth run for Mitchell if he just keeps a good defense, but Homer's not going to let him have this one so easy. I mean, looking at the front, we have a couple of laps left to go, but Guillemard seems to be all but confirmed for the position of winner of tonight's race. Wilson looks to be in the same spot, especially if these two fight like they have. The time is only growing further and further, but then Diekman, wow. Certainly a race to remember for himself there, and clearing by over 10 seconds to Dismakes in second place. So coming across for penultimate laps, now potentially going to have one more lap in the tank, depending on when Guillemard crosses that start-finish line. We could be 35 laps, we could be 36. You see even Gamar's getting the tail out a little bit happier. We'll see. 40 seconds left to go. It's going to be very, very tight. There's a reason we're just holding on with Gaimar right now. But it's going to be very tight as to whether he determines this is the last lap or if there's one more. So, 20 seconds. Gaimar might just scrape it past the line. He's getting, albeit briefly, boxed in by Bodin and a couple of the McLarens just here. Is he going to be going for one more lap? The leader is on the final lap. He's got one more push lap to go. You can see there's Lindblom actually managing to catch up all the way to third place. And really showing some impressive driving skills by being able to recover this much. He's even gone fastest lap, 40.6. And Neergaard going for a hefty defense to compensate. You see Lindblom is anchoring for a podium and he's not afraid to make that known. So, going tooth and nail, coming out of the first sector. We've got a couple more fights as well as Mitchell and Homer, Visuri and Zimmer. They're all going to be out on that course and all giving it everything. Bodin on Bull, Morrison on Diekman. Our eyes towards the top. We'll see how the gold class car recovers and recuperates from the hiccup that he earlier experienced. And Lindblom getting tailed off a little bit through the S's. Up into Newcop corner as they Peyton, Cutler going together. Mitchell and Homer actually made contact. But as these two fight and as these two continue to give it their all, there has been one driver who has been head and shoulders clean. As more drivers tussle, there is Gaimar crossing that line to finish the race and claim the win for today. Hermé is going to be just up ahead as well and taking a comfortable second. Neergaard and Lindblom fight to the bitter end, but in the end Neergaard's just able to hold this one on and keep it all together, as that is a successful mission by all counts. Meanwhile, looking to the rest of the field and looking to claim the wins for the other classes. Diekman has crossed the line as the winner for the bronze. Dismukes is going to be shortly following across with Sullivan. Second and third for these two. Very impressive stuff all round. Wilson finally comes up to the line through Ingwe now, and Silva is going to be crowned. An amazing result. He's not going to be able to keep the gold class cars behind him in the end, but still, immaculate result, and over 18 or 17 seconds away, Mitchell is going to be in second. Homer very close behind and really taking the fight to him at the end. But second and third duo going to complete this set of races. So last couple of cars now making their way through. and we will have, of course, the full standings in the end for you all to see, as well as being able to see who did not make it quite to the end here. So there we are. Session done, ladies and gentlemen. And we are just trying to find out exactly what's going on. Why the session hasn't been officially called as of yet. But there we are. Session is done anyhow. And see the order for us right here. Session complete. There you go. There's the flagging. And the driver's now disconnecting. What a race had by all. We're going to walk quickly through. You can see the standings on the board. So P1 through 14 gold. Then Wilson takes the lead for the silver. So the rest of the field showing themselves in following. Dickman still having a miles away gap to Dismukes and Sullivan. No wonder he's leading the bronze championship. And then the rest of the field is going to show. Sadly, no display of the others in terms of DNFs, but we'll saw them depart throughout the race. And with that is where we're going to do it for today, folks. So hopefully you've enjoyed the show that you have for us. Well, we've had for you today. And with that, we hope you'll join us next week, because we are headed to Italy. We are headed to... There we go. There is finally that order. So we didn't say goodbye at the end of the race to Reed, Marsh, Quinkellenberg, Holmberg, and Trickett. But that is where we are calling it for now. So next week, of course, next week is going to be quite the doozy, because we are headed to the beautiful land of Italy. We are headed to Imola. That is the track what we are going to call home for next week. So make sure you're there for that. Of course, it is a track steeped in history, and for our racers, it's going to be one that holds a lot of challenge. Aqua Minerale, Tosa, Villeneuve Chicane, just a couple of highlights of this beautiful racing circuit nestled deep within the Italian territory. And it's our part of our Italian doubleheader. We head to Imola first and then Monza the following week, so don't miss it. But this is where we say goodbye, folks, at least for now. And we hope you enjoyed this evening. Join us next week. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Go!